Good morning from Mr. Johnny Whiting's Memorial Garden. We're kicking off our 2019 spring season. At the front of our garden, we have a lot of space in rows to grow several plants that might need to be tied up and get some elevation. Last year, when we were pulling weeds, we had hot vine as tall as our tallest members growing up over our heads. We had burrs, and then of course, more pleasantly, we had some morning glories. So this year we expect to have a non-stop battle with weeds. The Mr. Johnny Whiting Memorial Garden is a St. Louis parcel. We managed to lease it through an LRA lease, $5 for 5 years. It has a reasonably intact fence all the way around it, and with the help from the city, we have access to water through the fire hydrant out front. On the outside, we're right off of a main greenway. We have some nice trees and shrubs that we've already trimmed back the shrubs. Now, there's still quite a bit of cleanup to do to make the garden really look nice. Here and there we found some pieces of carpet that have been used for weed suppression. It appears historically weeds have been an issue at this garden. We managed to salvage all types of potentially useful materials, and we'll see if we can employ any of them in the garden this year. Far behind the rows at the front of the garden, we have a lot of area in the center that would be great for a lot of beds. Here we have the remnants of an old compost pile. A little bit of trash in it. But by and large, we can clean it out and use most of it quite easily. Although it was a little late, we did put a few onion sets in. We'll see if these take off this year. This first year is going to be pretty experimental. We'll see how much actually grows well. We may need to make some good adjustments. We might throw some carrots in with this morning and see if we can companion grow onions and carrots together. I'm at about the 2/3 of the way mark for this plot of land, and the front part of the garden appears to be reasonably good for a variety of plantings. It's our hope to have a 4-foot pathway down this side of the garden and to make it chair accessible as soon as possible. Here at the back end of the front garden, we have the makings of a future compost pile, some found items that will probably serve us well in this year's garden, some extra mesh, and back here is where we plan to put a compost bin. There's a back gate to our garden that exits into the alley. It's a little bit narrow, so sometimes carrying things through here can be a little challenging, but it's nice to have access to the alley from the fence. The back third of the garden is a small orchard. It appears we have at least 4 living fruit-bearing trees, perhaps a 5th. We know one of them is an heirloom pear. We've seen evidence of peach seeds on the ground. Back here, there's an ongoing battle with weeds. And a variety of found objects that should help us with our garden this year. Alright, this weed right here, we think it grows burrs. And this here weed, we would love to have an effective, reasonably gentle to the environment way of eradicating this weed. aside from literally digging it all up, which we may still have to do, or burning it. We might need to burn it. The west fence of the orchard looks like a pretty good location for either a tool shed or a chalet, or maybe a combo. Here are the remnants of a previous chalet that's currently being used to house some tools. Here's the entrance to the current chalet. Let's go in. Lots of weeds and vines. We've already begun cleaning out back here. The previous gardener kept chickens back here. We cleaned most of that out. And here's where we're currently keeping a lot of tools. This shed seems to be propped up and leaning on this tree, and it's been fine enough to keep our tools dry this winter. And here's the view from the back of the garden. We have a place to put our noxious weeds and green waste that we do not want to go into the compost pile right now. A recycle bin and neighborhood trash bin. You can see some of the orchard trees above the back fence. Most of the back fence is in good repair, but there's going to be a little bit of patching to do. So it's Farmer Dar here. Happy Bibs Day. It's a beautiful Bibs Day morning, a little bit chilly, but that's perfect for doing work out in the garden of the kind we're going to do today. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to get done. I'm over at the community garden, and this is a different place where I've started gardening. It's a little bit bigger than the backyard, and it's a shared space that a few members of us in the community share, and we're hoping more members because it's an absolutely huge space. Something as large as a community garden, it's really beneficial to have more than one person working that area and helping it produce. And it's also certainly more fun because you get to know people near you and in your community, and hopefully build bonds that will benefit the community and benefit your families. You might be wondering why we have a community garden on top of the gardening at home, and it is a little bit much as far as time, especially since the community garden's so new. There's no real inertia with regular planting. We're going to be doing some of our first beds together this spring. But city plots, some of them aren't terribly large, and there's a lot of value in putting a few plants outside and definitely doing some growing, and we do that on our little 0.08 acres. And it really keeps us in things like tomatoes and tomatillos and some peppers, but as far as growing food toward being sustainable, well, it would be an absolute myth to think anybody could, grow enough food on 0.08 acres to sustain a family of any size. And further, if things became difficult in your community, even if you could sustain just your family on that 0.08 acres, the rest of your community is suffering. As things become more difficult, certainly for everybody, the last thing you want to do is try to, manage everything independently. That's not actually how the United States works currently. It currently works with an incredibly strong cooperative of rich pigs who are exploiting everybody. So there's no such thing as being able to produce enough, that you can be self-reliant and self-sufficient and go it alone. There's a certain level of cooperation that has to occur for a community to thrive, and for you to live your best life, it needs to be in cooperation with others, sharing skills and sharing resources and sharing, love, care, empathy for each other. So hopefully that's what's going to happen here at the community garden. So if you have the capacity to already garden a little bit at your own house, or if you don't have the capacity to garden at your own house, A community garden is a wonderful way to share a little bit of square footage and share wonderful knowledge, and also it builds community. It can be a really nice parallel structure to traditional food sources and traditional food lines, which I think to some extent are privileged. You know, food lines that do exist in the United States, you know, they appear pretty stable right now. I wouldn't bet on it staying that way always. So if you want access to a lot of, you know, really delicious foods, one way to do that is to actually start growing them yourself. And then the best way to learn to do that is in cooperation with other people. So today's goal is to continue some cleanup, and I really want to start putting some seeds out, especially seeds that might do well early. And as we do that, we're going to have to do a little more weeding, because in the last couple of months already our weeds that we whacked and hacked down last fall, already they're starting to peak up and come back and kind of take over the space. So it's afternoon in the garden, and it was really nice to get out in the dirt. Planted a row of radishes, did a whole bunch of weeding because weeds were coming back. And we set out some water barrels and tested our water hydrant and a couple of hoses, and filled the catchment barrels and found the leaks. And they were marked already, so that was kind of handy. And it's true, we have a few barrels that with leaks, so we'll be fixing those up and installing some spigots and using those to water the garden in between attaching the hydrant. The weeds are out in force. The hop vine has already started putting out a bunch of little tendrils, and it's covering the ground all over the place. So we're going to be pulling and pulling and pulling on hop vine all year, trying to reduce its impact on this garden. It really got away from everybody. I think the last 2 years this garden was idle and the hop vine was allowed to take over. So, so this year we'll be pulling up the legacy of 2 years of hop vine growth. Here's a row of radishes just put in today. And at the very end, there's a robin who's been benefiting from me moving the soil around. Alright, so I'm getting a little tired and the weather's starting to change. And I probably better start cleaning up before I get way too tired to clean up. So I'm going to go ahead and take some trash out back, close up the back gates, put away the seeds, tuck away the hoses, and head home and journal some ideas about how to go about next steps and what things might be nice and helpful.